Hello and welcome to the Relationship Anxiety Podcast. I'm your host, Chrisenia, and I'm so happy to be here with you today. Before we get started, if you haven't already, please leave me a review for this podcast. It really helps other people find the podcast, and my hope is to just extend my reach so that I'm able to serve and help more people. So, like I said, if you haven't already, please leave this podcast a review. Without further ado, though, our topic today might seem kind of interesting. It is anxiety is boring. And this is something I've been thinking about for a couple of months now. Our podcast today will probably be a little bit shorter than normal, but that's okay. I just really have been wanting to share this idea. And it goes back to how we respond to random anxious thoughts that pop into our heads. You've probably experienced this where you're just going about your day, totally normal. Maybe you're going to work, maybe you're eating dinner, and all of a sudden an anxious thought just pops in your head. Maybe you even just look at your partner and you're like, "Ooh, I'm not attracted to him." Cue anxiety. Or maybe, like I said, you're just on your way to work and you start thinking about how maybe he is lying to you, or maybe you're lying to him about how much you love him because you're not sure about your love. Or maybe the thought pops in your head when you're on a walk that this might not be the relationship God wants for you. And that thought can feel so scary in the moment. It kind of catches us off guard sometimes. We're like, oh, I was just having a normal day. And now, boom, anxiety. And you might be anxious for the rest of the day just because of this one thought that pops up. And when these thoughts pop up, we usually respond with some sort of franticness or panic. And actually responding with panic and franticness, it's actually cueing your brain that the thought is important and that we need to be on a high alert for more thoughts just like this. If you haven't already, check out my previous podcast episodes about the urge cycle. That's going to be really helpful context for this. But in the meantime, that's going to be really helpful context for this. In those podcasts, I go a little bit deeper into what's going on with this cycle of like holding on to anxiety. So go check those out if you haven't. But for the sake of this episode, I'm going to be pretty brief. But when we respond to anxiety with more panic, with more franticness, and when we start doing different urges or compulsions to try to get rid of the anxiety we feel, we basically end up, like I said, cueing to our brain that those anxious thoughts are important and we need to be on high alert for them. And so, what we want to do is instead of trying to get rid of these thoughts or instead of responding so frantically to them, we want to learn how to respond to them with boredom, which might sound so silly and it might sound so out of reach. But I want to use an example from physical therapy in my life that really got me thinking about this. This is where this idea came from, actually. So I have been going to physical therapy. I get a lot of like muscle tightness, which creates lots of knots in my muscles. So kind of like when you are stressed and hold your shoulders up a lot, those muscles get really tight and they get knotted. And so you need a back massage to like let those muscles relax. And if you have ever had one of these back massages, you might think it feels amazing, but it also hurts really bad, right? Sometimes getting those knots out is not relaxing at all. Sometimes it hurts a lot. And so this is kind of my experience in physical therapy is I got kind of nervous about releasing these muscles because it hurt so much. But it needed to be done still, right? Because it was causing me just pain in my everyday life. And so I had one physical therapist who was trying to release some of these muscles. It was hurting really bad. And she looked at me and she said, "This is boring." I was like, "What? No, it's not. It hurts a lot and I really don't like it. And I'm starting to get anxious because it hurts so bad." Right? Like my body thinks it needs to protect myself because it hurts. And she looked at me and she was like, "Thinking that way is just going to make you tighter and make it hurt more." She was like, "You have to learn how to relax so that I can work this tightness out of your muscles." She was like, "When you get scared and when you get nervous about the pain, you tighten up even more and I can't release the muscles." So she looked at me and she was like, "This is boring. Your brain thinks that there's something to be afraid of, but there's not. I'm safe. You're safe. And everything is okay. The pain doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that you're going to hurt for the rest of the day. It doesn't mean that there's something to protect from. It's just a sensation in your body. It's just boring." And she was totally right. Once I started thinking about the release of these muscles and the pain that came with it as boring, they started to release a lot more quickly, and I started to have less pain overall because I wasn't cueing to my brain that the pain was important and something that I really needed to protect against and all of these things. I logically knew that I was in a safe space. And so I was able to allow myself to feel the pain without layering it with anxiety. I learned to just take deep breaths and to think of it as boring. It's just a sensation. And so, same thing when we have anxious thoughts come up about our relationship. If we can learn, instead of jumping to conclusions and really getting frantic and panicky, if we can learn instead to respond to anxious thoughts with boredom and instead just feel whatever sensations are in our bodies without freaking out about it, and we show our body and our brain that everything is okay, and it begins to calm down and not be on high alert so much. And I know that that might sound counterintuitive, like anxiety is not boring at all. And we're not trying to trick your brain or anything like that. We're not trying to push away feeling anxiety. We're not trying to avoid it. We're still going to feel all of the sensations that come with being anxious. So you might have a thought pop up about not loving your partner. You might feel tightness in your chest. It might feel um, cold. It might feel like you need to curl up in a ball, or maybe your stomach drops when you have those thoughts. And what we want to do is feel all of those sensations in our body, but instead of freaking out about them, respond with boredom. Say, "Oh, yeah, this happens sometimes. Sometimes I get tightness in my chest when I think thoughts like that. So boring." It doesn't mean anything. It's the same idea as trying to take away meaning, or like we're trying to stop making meaning out of nothing. It's the same idea. Responding with boredom. "Oh, this is boring. It's nothing to freak out about. I just feel tight in my chest. I just feel my stomach drop. I felt that so many times before and I'm still okay. Everything is going to be just fine. Thank you so much, brain, for trying to help me, trying to protect me, but I've got this." It's the same as responding to an emergency with calmness instead of freaking out. We're just going to be bored about it. Anxiety is so boring. You have experienced so many days of feeling anxiety. It's nothing to be scared of. It's totally boring. So, to wrap up, I know this episode is a little bit shorter than normal, but it's an idea that I really have been wanting to share. And I think is a perspective that can help shift us out of that anxiety cycle and more into our day and more into the present moment. So, thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a beautiful week. Bye.